Hi, welcome to another episode of the Sankofa Pan-African series. Today, we'll be celebrating one of Africa's many legends, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. Cheikh Anta Diop was born in Senegal on the 29th of December 1923. At the age of 23, he went to France to continue his studies. Initially, he focused on mathematics and science, but very quickly completed his studies in this area and became drawn to studies relating to philosophy and Africa. He was particularly interested in researching Africa's roles in the origin of human beings and civilization. This led him to become involved in various students' movements that were actively demanding the end of French colonization of African countries. His involvement in studying Africa's role in world civilization brought him to the realization that the best way to tackle the domination of Africa by others was to challenge the way Africa was being presented and to correct the distorted, denigrated, and buried history of Africa, its peoples, and their contributions globally. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop was a visionary who came to his conclusions about Africa and its people long before others realized the importance of the role of Africa in world history. This, of course, meant that he faced a lot of obstacles and detractors. It took him almost 10 years to obtain his doctorate because his dissertation kept getting rejected. For instance, the initial doctoral dissertation which he submitted to the Sorbonne, the most prestigious university in France and indeed the French-speaking world at the time, was rejected because it proposed that Egypt was an African civilization. For that simple reason, that dissertation was rejected. He, however, did not let this rejection stop him. He went ahead and published many of his ideas. But in order to complete his doctorate, he had to register another dissertation which did not focus on his belief about ancient Egypt's contribution as an African empire to world civilization. All the obstacles that people like Cheikh Anta Diop faced within academic circles and the way he tackled them are instructive for those of us who are still contending with racism in so-called citadels of knowledge today. Our academic colleagues who either consciously or unconsciously still believe in the superiority of one race over all others might not be as brazen as their predecessors who were supposed to have been scholars that Anta Diop had to face at the Sorbonne. But their aim is no different. Nowadays, they hide behind constituting themselves as the authority figures on all major studies on Africa, its people, on the continent, and in the diaspora. They then use the power that they have given themselves as the authority of foremost scholars on Africa to continue the distortion of knowledge about us. They appropriate our voices and use this against Africa, Africans, and Africans in the diaspora. Please take the time to research who the foremost academic authorities are on topics like development in Africa, democracy in Africa, African literature, African cinema, and so on. For every African academic that you find out there, there are several non-Africans who have published extensively on the same topic. Even on a subject as seemingly apolitical as literature, it is non Africans who, through their hold on the publishing industry, the major literary prizes, and the academic departments that teach African literature, who determine which African stories are worthy of projection. But I've digressed enough here. Let's return to the erudite Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. Next, I want to examine some of the groundbreaking ideas about Africa and the rest of them. One of Diop's theories that I find most impressive is the way that he challenged the widely held view by academics at the time and to a large extent academics today. Diop's ideas about the physical variability of human beings, which, though predating the breakthrough in the genome mapping and DNA analysis, have been supported by these areas of scientific studies. Diop believed in the idea of variability in the way human beings are constituted biologically. He used his belief to argue that Africans should not be classified, characterized, or categorized into one rigid type, which existed only south of the Sahara. He pointed at the various shades of skin color, facial structure, hair texture, etc., which characterize us just as they do other ethnic groups. After all, you will find some Caucasians have blue eyes while others have brown ones and different hair colors. He argued that if white skinned people had as many variants which were spread all over Europe, the Mediterranean, the Middle East, etc., why should black skinned people only be confined to sub Saharan Africa? He successfully rubbished Eurocentric scholars who believe that the theory of evolution points to the survival of the fittest. In other words, these racist academics believe that while all human beings are evolved from apes, not all apes evolved into humans because some were not able to. They then use this argument to suggest that, in the same vein, it is only logical that some humans have evolved further and therefore are more advanced than others. Such theorists believe that black Africans have simply not evolved as well as other ethnic groups. These eugenic theories were supposed to be the science or pseudoscience, honestly, behind the idea that the people who were responsible for the Egyptian civilization could not have been black Africans. And an example of such scholars were members of the American eugenics movement, who insisted that black people are of a lower race. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop's position on the variability of human beings also helped him to confront and successfully debunk a lot of other so-called studies that were based on racist beliefs about Africans, which relied on racial rankings of superiority or inferiority. These pseudo-scholarly works separated true blacks as people who could only have been found south of the Sahara. And then they grouped some Africans who have some similarities with Caucasian features into advanced clusters. They identified these people as whitish Africans, who they claimed were descended from a group of Hamites who invaded Egypt. I have referred to this nonsense about Hamites in an earlier episode. They believed that only such people who were not black Africans could have been responsible for all the developments in ancient Egypt. What Dr. Anta Diop did was to point to ancient historians like Herodotus, who, when describing Egyptians, wrote that they were black with woolly hair. He also interpreted anthropological, linguistic, and archaeological data to illustrate the similarities between ancient Egyptian culture and sub Saharan African cultures. Considering the volume of work and quality of research which Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop left behind, it is easy to actually forget that he was also a brilliant scientist. He established a radiocarbon laboratory in Dakar, Senegal, and was the director of radiocarbon laboratory at the Fundamental Institute of Black Africa, IFAN, at the University of Dhaka. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop died in Dakar, Senegal, on the 7th of February 1986. But he left us a wealth of books and publications. Most of them, of course, all his works were originally written in French, but most of them are available in English. He wrote severally on the African origin of civilization, myth or reality, pre-colonial Black Africa. He did a comparative study of the political and social systems of Europe and Black Africa from antiquity to the formation of modern civilization or barbarism. So another one of his books that you should look out for is called Black Africa, the Economic and Cultural Basis for a Federated State. And then also the peopling of ancient Egypt and the deciphering of the Meroitic script, and cultural unity of Africa. Please just Google Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, and you'll find a very long list of very important books that he left for us. Please don't forget to join us next time, and if you have not yet subscribed, do so, and feel free to share this with your friends. Bye. See you next time.